Okay, so before we start, we probably need a little caveat about backpacking versus ultralight backpacking. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Rob from the Brooks Birches YouTube channel. That's where I do all my overnight trips, camping, backpacking, canoe trips, fishing, all the stuff we as outdoors people enjoy. Okay, so to my earlier point, I know some people might question this, but let's think about the definitions real quick. Backpacking versus ultralight backpacking. Backpacking is putting all of your gear in a backpack and taking it camping. Ultralight backpacking is doing that same thing, except going through the exercise of trying to make everything as light as possible. Some of the items on this list probably aren't going to be good for ultralight backpacking, but you can still take them backpacking and they will fit in a backpack. In fact, most of the items on this list are stuff that I bring with me on every trip I go on. So I know it's easy for us to get caught up in the big ticket items, the pricier items, the tents, the sleeping bags, the backpacks, things like that. But today I want to talk about 5 gear items that I absolutely love, and they all come in around or under $30. First item on the list, my Flextail Gea Max Pump. If you've seen some of my more recent videos over on Brooks Birches, you will know that I love this thing. I bring it with me on every trip. It is pretty much an essential for me. Even if I'm just backpacking or I'm trying to go ultralight, I still bring this with me. And I love this thing for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, and I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but if I breathe into my sleeping pad, like if I try and inflate it using my mouth, then I get kind of dizzy as I'm trying to inflate it, and it makes my head kind of start spinning, and I don't like it. So I prefer using this. But I also prefer using this over inflating it with my mouth, because when you breathe into your sleeping pad, it does 2 things. Well, first of all, when you breathe out, you expel moisture with your breath, and that moisture will then get inside the sleeping pad. Now, that will do 2 things. First of all, that will create mold inside your sleeping pad eventually. All that moisture trapped in there inside of your sleeping pad will get moldy, and then once you're inflating it more with your mouth, you'll be breathing in that mold, and that's not good for you. The second thing that moisture will do inside your sleeping pad, it will actually lower the R value, and it will make it feel colder to sleep on. So for me, this little thing, I think it's like $29, so it's right at that $30 price point. I love it. I bring it with me on every trip. I don't really ever leave home without it, and it's just one of those things that I love. You can also, if you so wish, rather than having to blow on your fire if you're trying to get your fire going, you can just use the pump. Next on the list, coffee filter. Some type of pour over coffee system. It doesn't really matter which one. This is by Primula, I believe. This one only costs $7. And anyone who's ever had real pour over coffee in the backcountry compared to just that instant stuff that you get will know that pour over coffee wins hands down every time. There's a whole bunch of different pour over coffee systems you can choose from. I have this one, which is more of a strainer. I also have this Muir Porigami system. And this one actually takes a paper coffee filter, but it has a little case where you can store the paper coffee filters and the little metal pieces, and they both work great. I've switched to this in the colder months because I found that this takes so long to drip through that a lot of times by the time you get to drink the coffee, by the time you finish the whole pour over thing, it's actually cold, whereas this one filters much faster, so it just makes the coffee hotter when you actually go to drink it, which I've found I prefer in the colder months. But yeah, like I say, these are expensive. This one comes in right at $30. This one comes in at $7. They both work great, and there's a bunch of other ones to choose from online, so which one you prefer is up to you, but like I say, they're usually pretty cheap, and I never leave home without one of them, to be honest. Okay, well, you can't have coffee without a mug, right? Those of you who watch Brooks Birches will probably recognize this one. This is my Yellowstone mug that I got when I went to Yellowstone National Park in October. And this is just a cheap titanium mug for backpacking. This one is obviously much heavier than this one, so I probably wouldn't bring this one if I was trying to go super lightweight, but I would probably bring this one. And the simple reason I like bringing a mug is because, as I explained before, I like to use pour over coffee, and I like to use pour over coffee filters. Now, if you only bring one pot with you, I've found that it's pretty hard to then take that water and pour it over your coffee and make it land in the same pot. So therefore, you need a little mug so that you can then take your boiling water from your cook pot and pour it over your coffee, and then you can still have water in your cook pot, so if you want to cook some like oatmeal or something like that in there. So yeah, I like to bring a little camping mug. They're not expensive at all depending on what you're doing. I like to bring this one or this one. I remember this one in Yellowstone was like 15 bucks. This one's probably somewhere around there on Amazon. It might be a little more expensive than that, but they're not too expensive and they'd come in under $30. Next on the list, this is the Black Diamond Moji Lantern. Now, I absolutely love this little thing. It does come with me on pretty much every trip. I mean, if I'm going ultra light, then it probably won't come with me and I'll just use my headlamp. But for the most part, most of the trips I go on, I bring this with me. And the simple fact is, most of the trips I go on, I'm by myself. And a lot of the trips I go on are usually throughout the winter months. And if you know anything about winter, you'll know that it gets dark really early. A lot of times it can be dark by 4 o'clock and you just sat there alone in the dark. And I've found that this is just so easy to hang from the roof of the tent or from a ridge line for a tarp, or from the best is the inside of a hammock, and you just can use this to see everything that you need to see. You don't have to worry about your head torch too much. You can have your head torch around your neck or wherever you keep it and just have this thing going, and it's just a nice way to illuminate camp. It's much easier to sit and read with this thing. Whatever you want to do, sit and watch a movie on your phone. I've found that this thing just makes it so much easier. And again, it's not a very expensive piece of equipment. Another nice thing is when it is dark and say you have to walk away from camp to go use the bathroom or something like that, obviously you'll have a headlamp with you, but typically you can see your like tent glowing or your tarp glowing with this thing going on inside. So it's just a nice little thing for that, and it just makes it that little bit more comfortable, and it's not heavy and it's not expensive. So yeah, all of those items are stuff that would probably come with me on most trips in some form or another. I mean, 1 or 2 of them maybe if I'm trying to go ultralight, but for the most part, they're always with me whether I'm ultralight backpacking or whether I'm just regular backpacking. But this next item definitely doesn't fit in an ultralight setting, but it does fit in a backpack, and I have used it backpacking a bunch of times. And those of you who've watched Brooks and Birches recently will know that I took this with me on a recent trip, that I use this thing quite a lot, and I absolutely love it. This is a Grille by a company called Recamp. And as you can see, it's fairly big. Like I say, it's not gonna be ultralight, but it's not too heavy. And I just absolutely love this thing. I love it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's just a perfect little grill. It's the perfect size. I mean, you imagine this is my cup. So you can see, it's perfect size for putting pots on, pans on. It's perfect for grilling over. You can get a couple of burgers, hot dogs, steaks, whatever you want, zucchini, and it's just a perfect little height. I've used other grills that don't have these legs and they're fine, they work good, but they tend to be a lot smaller, and then you also have to find rocks or something to lean them on and position them on. This thing, you just fold out the legs, stick it on the fire. I use it by myself a lot of the times, and then it's also great for if there's more than one of you. I mean, this thing is good enough, you know, I'd say for a family of 4, say if there's you and your partner and your kids, like you can fit a couple of burgers on here if you want to. You can fit, I've had a couple of really big steaks on here before. Yeah, I mean, the thing's just great. It's great for cooking on, but the other thing I love about it, even when you're not cooking on it, it's just the perfect height to be a little table. These things, these bars on here are just close enough together so that things won't fall through, like I say, like I demonstrated. Put my mug on there, put my plate on there, even after I've finished cooking, and I put my plate on there and I can eat on it. It's just a great little piece of gear, and like I say, I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's not going to be in an ultralight setting, but if you just want to go hang out, go on a backpacking trip, maybe go like, you know, under 5 miles to get to camp, you're gonna go with your friends, your buddy, your partner, your kids, whatever. This is just a really great item that fits easily in a backpack. And it just works, and it makes camping that much more enjoyable. And that's the whole point, right? Is to make camping more enjoyable. So yeah, I absolutely love this thing. I mean, it works great. I would bring it with me on more trips if I could, but the thing I love most about it, like I say, is its versatility. It can be used as a grill, it can be used as a table. You can bring it backpacking with you if you want, like I say, not so much an ultralight setting, but if you just want to go backpack, you know, less than 5 miles with your buddies, it's a great option to bring with you. And the other thing is it works perfect for car camping as well. Even if you're just going campground camping or car camping, camping next to your car, overlanding, something like that. This is just a perfect little piece of equipment. Job done. So there you go. There's 5 items under $30 or around $30 that I absolutely love for backpacking. Like I say, most of them I probably bring with me on every trip, and I'm sure there's more things that I could put on this list, but those are the 5 items that I found that I use the most. If there's anything that you think I missed and you would like me to review, please let me know in the comment. Obviously like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.